Hey guys, welcome back to another Rest, Eat, Move podcast. This is Matt, and for the first time in, it seems like the summer, I have the big fella in studio. So much better than looking at the screen. But we're really excited about a couple things before we jump into the podcast. This is podcast 224. We have our new food bars that came out, and it's a chocolate almond butter. We're calling these a nutrition bar. They're a little bit smaller. I kind of think of them as a snack. We'd love to hear what you think of them. I think they're fantastic. It took us 1 year from inception to create the bar, to formulate the bar, to get the bar, to design it. So those just came out this week. We're very excited about them. A lot better packaging. We still have the old bars. The old bars are great. These have a little less calories, a little more light on the go. And then a couple of reminders. On our website, we have our app. We have resources and videos. If you haven't checked out our handouts, the Know Your Numbers handout, especially for the podcast we're going to talk about today, is so valuable. Our food target. Share these resources. Remember we have these resources, and if you can't ever find a resource, pick up the phone, shoot us an email. We'll guide you in the right direction. One last thing, we've been short on spirulina chlorella CGF. At some point last week, I thought we were going to have to go 3 or 4 months without inventory. Good news, the customs have cleared inventory, so we are full status for inventory. That's great news. So you probably didn't notice that, but just behind the scenes, what was going on. Today, 224, we're going to talk about you don't know what you don't know. Because when you think about health, there's a lot of times where you think, well, I feel pretty good. Or my doctor didn't say anything about that. Or I didn't know that that was a risk factor or a sign or a clue that I should be paying attention to. So I was speaking yesterday for a group, and they were very educated, and I got to go a little deeper. And you know, you're gonna do some long form podcasts on certain topics, cholesterol being one. I don't think we can educate the population enough on the things we don't know about, like cholesterol, for example. But when I say you don't know what you don't know, what comes to mind for you?
Well, we talk a lot about medical illiteracy, so that's the big one. You don't know what you don't know. Like,
what is medical literacy?
Well, you know, two things we're not taught in school is financial, and we're not taught health. So if you go to your healthcare practitioner, let's say a primary care physician or whoever, if you don't go in there prepared or having some type of knowledge, you're not going to control that conversation, and then that conversation might lead to things that you don't. So I had a gentleman yesterday, his testosterone level's low, and he has erectile dysfunction, but he didn't know that statin meds affected the whole cascade. So I explained how, you know, the cholesterol makes sex hormones, it makes stress hormones, and then if you mess with these hormones, you're going to have a ripple effect. So when you see medical literacy, it's everywhere. I mean, you look at watching the Olympics last night, and you got, you know, Trulicity, Ozempic, you know, I mean, the list goes on. The psoriasis meds.
Have you seen the videos where like somebody's eating popcorn or a bag of chips on the couch, critiquing the Olympians? So you might be doing a pole vault at 17.
They're talking about Simone Biles.
I can't believe you can't get over the.
You know, she's getting hate mail, and I mean, the average person can't do a cartwheel. Seriously.
So anyway, yeah. The know you don't know is medical literacy. Just to go one step further, what you're really saying is we know a lot about a lot of things. I think we're very educated in most part. We get a lot of information.
Well, you know, I'll use this. You know, you and I were talking before we started about physical therapy, and you know, I went to see Jill in Peak Performance, and I have hamstring issues, and I didn't know this, but she says, you know, your L4 and L5 is kind of jammed up, S1, and it doesn't fire at the speed it should fire. And so the reason your hamstring's always getting in trouble is because now when you're speeding things up and you're decelerating, your back's not in the sequence. So again, if I'm trying to fix my hamstring, it's not more stretching, it's not more strength training, it's not more of that. It's allowing the back to have more space and then conditioning that. You're talking about the Olympics, they're talking about soft tissue conditioning. Well, all these athletes, they're working these gigantic muscles, but if they tweak their calf or they tweak these smaller muscles.
Yeah, so your Achilles,
yeah, and so to me, I didn't know why my hamstring was a problem. I mean, I can almost do the splits, and I'm like, I can do more stretching and this and that. That wasn't the problem. So I didn't know what I didn't know until she woke me up.
And so today, as we say, you don't know what you don't know. The art is, I think we're all looking for better results. I think as a society, we could be a lot healthier, less medicated, more efficient, more productive, happier, thinner, stronger, fitter. We talked about resting heart rate and blood pressure and cardio. But it begins with the curiosity, because if you want to know what you don't know, you got to ask questions. And so it hit me yesterday, kind of the same type of story. It's almost like looking in the mirror, but I was going to physical therapy, which has been absolute game changer for my leg, which I've discussed. And one of the med techs who we can go in a whole different direction. I think sometimes the way things are set up, they're not providing a ton of value, but he's asking me, like, I heard you have a podcast. Well, what do you talk about? And it's like one of those things where I'm at this physical therapy as the student. And I think as society, we're so fixated on this. Well, aren't you the health expert? Well, I'm not a health expert on doing brain surgery or heart surgery or physical therapy. I'm not an expert on soft tissue or fascia. And so I think we're so caught up into like, well, let's just take money. Well, this person must be an expert in money. They're probably not an expert in all aspects of money. And if you think that they know everything, then you're going to get into this box that, well, this is what I thought it was. So I think curiosity is really, really important. And it prevents, I think, a lot of people from realizing what they don't know. And cholesterol could be one of them. Most people have no idea what cholesterol is. Is it good? Is it bad? How to improve it? Is it improvable? Why you wouldn't want to go on a statin medication? And that's just one aspect of a blood test.
Well, and one of the things we do too is if you can coach people before they go see their primary care doctor or whoever they're seeing and start getting that conversation, you need to go in there prepared. These are the questions you need to ask, because when you do that, you have amazing dialogue with your health professional. If you come in there and you're tight-lipped and you're not going to talk about this, your blood pressure, whatever, it's hard for them to extract that. So if they come in with all these questions, it's incredible the dialogue they have. And it's no different than what we talk about all the time. It's like, what questions are you asking? How curious are you? And if you're not, and you're afraid to ask these questions, then you're not going to get to the heart of the problem, which, again, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of think back to like when you first have your first job and you're making a little bit of money and you get your first house and you're thinking, this is all I could ever want. And then you're like, oh, that's a nicer couch. I didn't even know there was a nicer couch. Oh, you can get even a nicer couch? Like it always is. There's always more possibilities. Same thing with your health. I didn't know you could live to your 80s and still be cardiovascular fit. Well, because I never saw it in my parents or their generation or my family. And so I think beliefs are a big opportunity here. You hear us talk about them a lot, but where do beliefs play in this curiosity? And what part of the health journey do they unlock or prevent for most people?
So when I do private consulting, I like the whiteboard and I like to write.
That 10-foot whiteboard?
The 10-foot whiteboard. Or even when I'm doing seminars, I have these slides. And so the first one I say to the entire audience is, today we got to be like a third grade class, a beginner's mind. And so I was speaking at MSU kinesiologies, and I asked the group, 30 students, if you were teaching a third grade class and you ask a question, how many hands would go up? And it was like crickets, no hands go up. And the professor said, hey, gang, what he's saying is that if this is a third grade class, all the hands would go up because they're all curious. But as adults, what allows us to not have that curiosity? So step one is like, let's go in and let's say, why is the sky blue? And then just keep rolling, keep getting deeper. And then that leads into beliefs. Like I'll ask, so that's the first thing I talk about is, all right, so today I want you to be really curious. Ask anything you can think of, because that's going to get us going in the direction, because I don't know what you don't know. I don't. Number 2 is I put beliefs out there, and everybody has limiting beliefs. We call it the box of beliefs. Like, what's in your belief box that's a sacred cow? We talked about this last week on protein powders and, all that stuff we talked about last week, make mistakes. So I'll get into that whole, your box of belief. Tell me some box of calorie equals a calorie, list goes on and on. So those are beliefs. More cardio to lose weight. These are beliefs. So if I don't really know what's in their toolbox, what they're believing, I can't eat carbs. Okay, tell me about carbs. I'll ask these questions to them. And most of them don't even know what a carb is. And then they say, well, I just don't eat sweets. So everybody categorizes that. So I need to know what their beliefs are. Fat used to be fat makes me fat. So once you start uncovering these limiting beliefs, then we start saying, well, here comes the possibilities.
So beliefs, possibilities. Why would someone create a limiting belief system? Is it fear? Is it don't want to make mistakes? Are people scared to know some information?
You guys, you're talking about the carnivore doctor that, he's in the grocery store and, eating broccoli is a sin, right? And now he's completely changed. What changed in his beliefs? Something changed. Well, it was his health. So you got to say, what is making me lock these, way back in the day, I used to talk to dietitians until I was blue in the face about a calorie is a calorie. It's a unit of heat. It's measurements. No, 100 calories of broccoli and 100 calories of chocolate cake, the body looks at them completely differently. But if you have that, the first thing you're going to do on everything is you're going to look at calories. When we came back and let's focus on the source. What's it doing to me, whatever. So you got to have to, when we're doing presentations, it's really kind of simple because you start telling these stories that they have these limiting beliefs. Like,
but are people fearful of like being wrong, making mistakes? Like why would you not want to know what questions to ask?
Well, I think sometimes people don't want to ask these questions because they might be fearful that they are ignorant. They don't know. So if you came in with a third grade,
or they were wrong.
Yeah, or they're wrong. Third graders don't care. They don't have any.
Yeah, so those students, they don't want to look like idiots.
They don't like
in
front of their peers. They're not asking any questions. So that's where the professor just go, wait a minute, this guy's coming in here. He's trying to help you understand how to make a living in this kinesiology world.
Do you think there's an element where when it comes to health, let's just say you go to the doctor, you get a blood test, you just want them to say it's good. You don't want to know what's under the hood. Because then now is there an element where it becomes...
Oh, for sure.
Is medical literacy so popular because we don't want to have the personal responsibility for our health?
Oh, I think there's a lot to be said that. So if I'm notoriously, this is what I have my identity of, I have this problem or this issue, it's my identity. Nothing I can do. There's no ownership back to me versus, oh, I didn't know that. Did you know that erectile dysfunction is based on this, and this? So instead of taking Viagra for these men, they're like, oh, you mean I have to change how I eat and my stress level and this and that? Well, yeah, if you really want to change this. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons, but I think fear is a big one. Lack of knowledge, lack of curiosity, all of the above.
I kind of think back to Grammy when early on, I don't know why I remember this. I don't know. It could have been 5, could have been 10, somewhere in between there. Grammy she would tell me, well, I can't walk around the mall. My legs were going to get too sore. I got too much pain, arthritis. She had to be 55, maybe 60. But, you create that, pain or fibromyalgia. I have fibromyalgia. They can't do anything about it. Versus the curiosity of, well, I didn't know. Wow, right. I didn't know that anti-inflammatory medications are going to disrupt my gut health. And when my gut health gets too out of balance, then I become too acidic. And when we become too acidic, I actually create more chronic inflammation. And so you can see why people maybe get into these situations where I think personal responsibility is scary.
It's very so.
Why back in the day did everyone want a pension? well, I don't have to worry about my money. It's guaranteed. But if you look at it and say, well, actually, if you have a little bit smarter investment, you actually can make more money.
Well, again, it's back to, they're the expert. No, you need to get in your game. Nobody knows your health better than you. Do you need a team around you? Absolutely. That's where you can come in. Not everybody's skilled in everything. So a lot of times when I bring them in, I said, I'm the quarterback. We're going to talk about these therapists over here. We're going to talk about a primary care doctor over here. We're going to talk about a behaviorist over here. I'm going to help you, orchestrate all this. But I think a lot of times when you go back to my mom, your grandmother, her whole thing, she had ankle fusion, knee replacement, hip replacement, blah, blah, blah. And that was her.
She liked to talk about
pain.
She
liked to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And finally I said to her one day, I said, Mom, do you want to get better? And she said, that's how she identifies herself. So I said, let me just do me a favor. We're going to hire a trainer for you. So we hired a trainer at the MAC, worked on her alignment, whatever. And slowly she got better. And then she wanted to tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, Mom, you've been bitching about this for, forever, but you had these beliefs that you couldn't get better. Now you realize you could get better, and now you want to share with everybody.
Yeah, I think this is I was speaking to this group yesterday, and at the end, because I had longer with them, I said, hey, all this information I shared with you, real valuable stuff, but the most valuable thing, and they got it, they were administrative level for a school system, and they think the same way about their students. If we think that student that's in front of us has no potential, they won't do anything different. But that's why you have a school system, to create the potential. Same thing when it comes to doctors and nurses. They do want to improve. Now, it's a hard, tiring, sometimes feels like an uphill battle profession, and so people could get jaded and tired or create these beliefs. But today is what you don't know, is really powerful. And so when you think about what are the things that you should be asking or knowing, like you were talking about all these health professionals, but what do you need to know? Like know your numbers, the top clues around.
I think it again, it's like no different than money. It's like where like Dave Ramsey does the baby steps. First one, you save $1,000. He's not going into legacy. He's not going into, just save $1,000.
Yeah. So what's the baby steps that people should know when it comes to their health?
The first baby step would be curiosity. I got to start being a little bit more, maybe my elbow doesn't need an anti-inflammatory. Maybe there's something I could do to help, whatever it is. Maybe my sleep doesn't need a sleep med. Maybe my sleep needs to be.
So let me play the other side of that. Well, Chris, my elbows hurt me for the last 10 years. Or I've never slept. Now what?
Then let's go back in time. And so now comes the next thing, which we got to create hope. You got to create a vision. Imagine if you slept better. How would you feel? Well, I don't sleep better. Do you want to sleep better? You can see how this starts to go. Here comes the curiosity. Well, what would I do differently? Well, one thing you could do right now is you need to get off your electronics before you go to bed. Do you consume foods high in magnesium? What's your breath like? How active are you? Do you get sunlight? I mean, and the checkbox goes no, 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 no. Okay, so now you're like, do you want to get better? Do I need to save my $1,000? Yeah, let's start with that. Let's get outside. Like I used to talk to my mom every day. Mom, are you getting outside for 10 minutes a day? No. Well, you're complaining about your sleep. Let's start with getting outside for 10 minutes a day. Look up in the sky. I mean, the list goes on. So that's where you begin.
Look up in the sky.
Yeah, just look up in the sky. And then the other thing too is now you challenge their beliefs. Like, do you know if you did this? Like I show some people, they want to play pickleball or whatever. And I'm like, I can't do it because your soft tissue is not conditioned. Let's do some really simple exercises to do that. Now that creates this hope. Maybe I can do some of these things. Can you hang from a bar? Can you get off the floor? What's your blood work look like? The list goes on. But the first thing we're trying to do when we meet with people or talk to groups is we're just trying to create a vision of what's possible. Number two, how do we create curiosity?
So how do we create curiosity?
You got to create this self-awareness.
So you got to help them with their vision,
You got to help them with your vision. You got to talk about
their why.
Yeah, you got to talk a lot about that. So I talk right away. I tell a story right from the beginning. That story opens them up like, hey, this is where I'm at. I changed this. This is how my life changed. You got to give them that journey where they're going. Because if they don't have any hope, you're just talking about with the teachers, then they just clam up, this is my life, this is what it is. I mean, you got to really think about Simone Biles. I mean, think about this in the Olympics. She came back like she was so traumatized, she couldn't do any of those things anymore. Well, how did she come back and do what she's done? Well, she knew it was possible, but she had to rewire her brain to do whatever it is. And so that's what I get excited about with people. Like,
She went all in.
she went all in. Hey,
Yeah.
and then even if I fail, I went all in.
Yeah, so let's take an example. You got someone comes in to see you. They have 10 different ailments that's been following them around, this sheet of paper or this file.
Yeah, it follows them around. It's like it's hooked to
So
them.
then, they're working too much or don't like their job, or it could be financial stress, could be personal stress, relationships, time's not right. A lot of people we see that maybe are starting the curiosity still have all the buts. The why has to be bigger than the but. But when it comes to health, I very rarely see people truly go all in for the most valuable asset. That's probably one of the passions that I have is I like to say, why not? If you know you're going to live to 90 and you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or even 60, 70, why wouldn't you want to?
Well, I think the big thing, I was having lunch with one of my friends yesterday, and one of the things we were talking about is sobriety and alcoholism and blah blah blah. And I was asking her because she's a kind of a coach for people that have gone through Alcoholics Anonymous, and I said, well, do you know if they're going to change? She says they have to want. I can't change them. They have to decide they want to change. And so I pose that question: how bad do you want to change some of this stuff? Because don't come into me and say, hey, I'm complaining back to my, my identity is my issue. What do you want to change here? And if we can go back and say, hey, you don't have to change everything overnight. Let's do that $1,000 of savings. Let's just do one thing and be committed to that one thing.
Don't you think we're too soft when it comes to telling people that change is hard? So when you watch these commercials that say just take a pill, I think it's also saying this like it's not your fault. You don't have to do any work. Versus what if we were a little bit more truthful and say, yeah, I mean, we know why your elbow is bothering you. You overuse it, you don't train other parts of your body. Your diet maybe is causing more inflammation than needed. You don't recover, you don't sleep. Versus saying, yeah, that just happens. And so come on in and we'll give you a shot for that.
Yeah, and so again, it's a art, and the art is when do you start getting more into tough love? And so I'll have clients that come in and I listen to them, I try to be compassionate with them, the whole deal. But as time goes on, I'm gonna say this is what's necessary if you want to get better, and you have to decide. Doesn't have to do everything, but you have to decide: do I want to get better? And if you do want to get better, this is what we need to do. Because we know if you take some of these steps, I mean, that's why your therapist likes working with you or Jill likes working with me, because it ain't about not doing it. It's about helping me understand what I don't know.
Well, I got 2 points that popped in my head that I think are valuable. So I'm seeing them yesterday, and you discharge a patient at some point. We haven't even talked discharge. I'm running, I'm sprinting. I got no pain. I'm not going to stop seeing him. The difference is he discharges patients when they're done with their curiosity. Even that he knows, like, oh my gosh, their hip is 3 inches, but they don't have pain for what they originally came in for or what their prescription was, and so it's time to discharge. I haven't even been discharged or conversation. I might see him for the next 10 years because we're working on something that probably doesn't have an end. I'm working on my fascia, my flexibility,
Yeah,
my range of
when
motion.
does your health have an end?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. The other thing is, I really think this, you don't know what you don't know. I think there's some fear that really stems from people not wanting to know. Not wanting to know that they have opportunity to control it, because that means then they have responsibility, but also what they potentially could feel like. I was taking Hadley, all our kids, to the fair. So there's a fair a couple weeks back, and Hadley's not going to do all the rides. Hadley has special needs, so she's scared of some rides, but she wanted to do this slide. It's this long, metal, fun slide. Costs $5 to do the slide. You know, they're charging you for everything. Well, she's going for it. She wants to do it. She runs right up to it. She climbs the stairs. She's wants to do it, but she gets to the top, and now says, I got to go to the bathroom. Well, she says that when she doesn't want to do something, but she does want to do it. People come to see us that want to feel better, but then they're like, oh, wait, it's going to require, no, it's too high. So I took Hadley, I put her on the thing, she's fighting me, and I let her go, and she loved it. That's what reminds me of people come in to see us, or you see it every day, or you hear these people complaining about ailment, and they want it. They sometimes envision it, but then they get up there and they think, well, that's Mount Everest.
Well, and again, you have to coach them on, behavior change. These are the steps they're going to take. It's no different. Again, we talk about finance. If people want to get out of debt, they got to get uncomfortable. They can't go out to dinner every day. They can't buy the big TV. They can't keep doing the same stuff. So for you to move from A to B, you have to do something different, and you have to get a little uncomfortable. Are you willing to get a little uncomfortable? That's what I'll ask them. Now, I'm not saying you need to kill yourself. I had a guy in not too long ago, and, he's complaining about, this and this and this. And I'm thinking to myself, on an intensity scale, you're working out at probably about a 4. And could I amp that up? Yeah, but I want him to want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy that So the next time we worked out, I said, next time we're coming in, I'm going to train with you. So I'm going to give in. I was ready. Like, we warmed up, whatever, and so I wanted him to see what the intensity could be like.
Without telling him.
Without really telling him, we're going to jack this up, and I'm doing the same thing he's doing. He's going. And he really hit him like, wow, this is what, yeah. Do you think these Olympic athletes, when you watch them, I mean, the way we watched the 1,500 meters last night, these guys are blowing a gasket. They're all in. And now we're not saying everybody's an Olympic athlete, but you have to change whatever you're doing to get to the next step. And it takes a little bit being uncomfortable. Well, not everybody's interested in that.
Yeah. So do you know, you don't know what you don't know, but a lot of people believe they don't really want to get too uncomfortable.
Well, the other thing too, you hear this all the time. I hear it all the time. I've done everything. What? What do you mean you've done everything?
That would be you saying I've done everything. My hamstring's not getting any better.
Okay. Then I don't water ski anymore. Then I don't downhill ski anymore. Then I don't play paddleball, pickleball anymore.
Close it down.
No, I'm shutting it down. It ain't gonna happen. Now, like. Again, I want to see what's possible. If I can try to uncover every stone, I'm working at it. Do I have every answer? No.
Without being, I think that's where there is both sides of the spectrum. You can get the lab tests, and you got people that are spending $1 million on testing it don't have to be that extreme.
But you need to get a team around you that you trust.
All right, so as we kind of close this down, we were talking about what you need to know. Curiosity is required.
Beliefs, you got to uncover beliefs. What are people's beliefs that are holding them back?
But you got to kind of know when the body's talking to you.
Yeah, you have to have self-awareness.
Yeah, self-awareness, and that has to be taught, learned,
Yep, you have
discovered. But here's the thing that I think gets in the way the most, and I say this probably the most. It's the tagline of our business: you have the power to feel your best. Do people truly know what they should feel like?
No, because it's such a slow decline.
So when are you guaranteed to know how good you should feel like?
Well, I think that's
at birth. As a kid?
I think as time goes on, like I have a guy that I'm seeing tomorrow, and this guy's lost 100 pounds. maybe 110. Now he wants to do a bodybuilding contest. And I can't wait to train this guy. He's so curious. He'll have 10 questions for me tomorrow. What do I need to do? Blah, 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 blah. This guy, if you could put how he feels now compared to what he used to feel like, and he goes, I don't understand why people don't want to do this. I go, because they don't, you didn't know it. You didn't know it until you went through all this transformation.
You don't know what the reward is.
Yeah. And now you've gone through it and you want to share it with everybody.
And the reward isn't necessarily the end result.
But you lived this life for 30 years. And now all of a sudden you met the right woman. You had this epiphany. You got cancer. Life changed. You got the right team in front of you. And then I've lost 100 pounds and my life is. So I think you have to do that slowly, like show them what is possible. Give them some success. I really like giving people like, let's work on this. And then you see the success. And then that builds on more. And now they feel like they got the confidence to take that next level.
So I know you can't give an answer, and we can't, but I think this is a great question is, how should people feel? I think that's a important question that I don't think is discussed enough, is how should you feel? Should you have energy? Should you have pain? Should you be able to climb a flight of stairs? I know it's all personal and where everyone is, but like, what's the norm?
Yeah.
But what actually is, how should you feel or people should feel versus how do people feel?
Well, again, I had lunch with this gal yesterday and she's lost like 25 pounds and she was going through this therapy in Grand Rapids and we were talking about her knees because she's going to go to Arizona or no, she's going to Montana hiking, Glacier. And they put her in therapy. They put her in this unweighting the body. So when she's walking on the treadmill, they're taking 50 pounds off of her. She goes, oh my gosh, my knees don't hurt. I said, wasn't that an incredible vision they gave you that if you did lose 50 pounds, how your knees would feel? She goes, I'm so excited because my knees didn't bother me a bit. So I think that's where you got to create a little bit of that curiosity and that little success that they can actually taste it a little bit. But I think, yeah, absolutely. You should get up in the morning. You shouldn't be aching that bad. I mean, we might be stiff one day. You should have good energy. What's your vitality look like? How excited are you about your life? I mean, there's lots of things, mental, physical, emotional. But for me, that's one of my drivers is I want to feel vibrant. I want to feel like I can do the stuff I want to do.
Yeah, it's almost like
that's
everybody deserves to be whether you like camping at the most amazing campsite for a week with great food, outdoors, no technology, it's probably how you should feel by the end of that.
And I think sometimes you have to create that awareness for people because they're so not used to it. They're not like we used to do training with Dr. Phil and we do the sleep training and he'd go watch these people and a lot of them would be laying down and he'd work on the sleep training and they would be fidgeting. Like they've never been put in a situation in the middle of the day where they actually have to quiet their mind. They didn't know what they didn't know. And then they realized, wow, no wonder I can't sleep at night. No wonder that.
Well, again, even I'll use my example is that's why I started doing monthly massages scheduled. So I scheduled the next 2 years, one a month on Mondays at 9:30. Well, you think why? Well, number one, I have control over my schedule. That can work. But Mondays it's like hit the ground running. And then next thing you know, you're not breathing. You haven't had any water. There's all these fires you put out. But when you do the massage, the first 5 minutes, you're very uncomfortable because you're like, I got shit to do. I shouldn't be here. And then by the end of it, you're like, if that building fell down, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
And so that's the same thing as like, back to the story about Hadley. You throw her down the slide and she wants to go back 15 times. And we wish this for a lot of people is like, just do it.
Well, your son jumps off the boat and now I can't get him to not jump off the boat 100 times. But it took a while for him to jump off the boat in deep water.
2 hours, 10 minutes to get him to jump off the boat.
Right, but as soon as he jumps off the boat, he goes, I'm doing this 100 times. So you create that confidence and that self-awareness and all that stuff that comes with it. But I think your question is a really valid one for everybody to think about is how good do I feel? And could I feel better? And what do I need to do to make me feel a little bit better? And that's not always easy, but at the same time, there's so many things you can do to up your game.
Yeah, and I see splashed all over the internet, good things, good books, good podcasts. It's always about like, you got to do this and you can't do that. And here's the science, research, and the protocol. At the end of the day, the missing piece that is harder to explain, it's not that sexy, is it requires behavior change.
But you ask yourself, how did you come up with the idea of having a massage at 9:30 on a Monday?
Well, because Friday didn't work.
And you're thinking, well, Monday's so busy. Why would I do it on Monday? Well, you probably had a challenging weekend with the crazy kids.
Pain is a powerful, but you got to have the curiosity that the pain is for a reason.
And now you've done it, and you've seen and felt it.
But it still is hard.
Well, you still have to schedule it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like anything. If for whatever reason it gets off the calendar, it is becoming more of a habit and a protocol, but it's not.
And sometimes you probably say to yourself, I don't really have time to do it today.
Every time.
And then you do it and you're like, man, I wouldn't.
I got one
the best thing ever.
Monday. And
yeah.
So here's how this works. I mean, I can't make this up. Like I said, to start this podcast, I thought we were going to be out of inventory for 3 months. So I could sit here in the office and just keep looking at the screen like, where am I going to get this inventory? And so I went into the massage like, this isn't a good problem. A selfish one, I won't have any spirulina chlorella. Now you can get it in different ways, but so I do the massage. The building could have fell down. I felt fantastic, and I get a text and it's clear. So those are the things that in my world always seem to happen eventually, and you got to believe that you can't control the outcome. But one of the things you can control is you can control the process.
Correct.
And when it comes to your what you don't know piece, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's on the other side. But we do know that the body can change.
And the other thing too, when you're talking about that, you don't know what's on the other side, but you have to take that risk of being uncomfortable to go there and see what's possible. Because again, if you looked at the Olympics today, they all have backstories. They all have these challenges, and the pure joy on people's faces, even if they don't win the gold medal, some of them, the best ones where they won the bronze medal, they're so happy.
Yeah, the men's team with
they're so happy because they went through all this, and
no one thought it was possible.
They never thought it was possible. Yeah, and then again, that pain and suffering sometimes is the best stuff when you come out the other side.
Yeah, again, so 40 minutes later, I think the genesis of this podcast of you don't know what you don't know is every day I see people living life, and it could be a good life, but they don't feel their best. And they don't, I think, realize that they could feel better. And so you can step back and say, well, I don't really know. I haven't felt, I feel fine, I think. I'm doing decent things. I think the question we all should look at ourselves at least a couple times a year is say, why not get a little bit better at one aspect? Or be curious if, maybe I need to change my workout routine. Or maybe I need to go see a specialist in this aspect. Or let's evaluate my diet a little bit. Am I having good digestion? And so as we wrap up today, I think the last thing you always want to ask yourself is why not? Why wouldn't you want to feel your best? And if you have an answer to that, let me know. I don't know. But the truth is, I think there's a lot of excuses and there's a lot of things that can get in the way from feeling your best because a lot of people don't.
And I think if they, again, start to answer the question, because I think everybody wants to feel good. But what gets in the way is I think it gets to be too overwhelming. You don't have to climb Mount Everest. You say, okay, I'm going to do this one step at a time. And then they start believing in it. And then they believe it and they get some success, and then it starts going. And here's my guy tomorrow that's lost over 100 pounds. I just started slowly, and now he's like, get out of my way. The life is incredible.
And so you don't know what you don't know, but after 40 couple minutes, now you know it's your job to kind of be curious to know, why do you have inflammation? Why are you having chronic headaches? Why is your back hurting? Why is your elbow hurting? And there's not always one answer. I think that's the tough part. There's not one answer why you can't sleep at night, but believing that there is a reason or several reasons or a process that you could maybe tweak.
And I think the last thing I'll just mention is that the human body has an incredible ability to heal and self-correct. We just have to give it better opportunity to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, back to Olympics, the gymnast, she had the kidney issues, gained, 30 pounds in like a month. Was she gold medalist? And then
Suni Lee, she's won a few medals. She fell on the beam, but incredible story.
So she couldn't even do what she used to do. Yet then they found what was going on and changed it, and I don't think they call her that she's got a disease anymore. I think it's completely healed, and now she's an Olympic athlete again. So like those are the stories that tell you like there's a lot of things we can do, but it begins with that curiosity. So ask a question, what's the curiosity? But at the end of the day, why not tap in? And remember, you're your own health advocate. And I say it again, you have the power to feel your best. We'll see you again next time.